So today is gonna be all about my signature motto, which is You But Better Beauty. And before we get started, I just want to take a few minutes to kind of introduce that idea and talk a little bit about my motto and kind of my what's the word? My philosophy with makeup. So, You But Better Beauty is something that I have developed over my 15 years of experience where, you know, I've talked with a lot of my clients who get their makeup done and don't really feel completely comfortable. They don't feel like they look like themselves. And especially if you're new to makeup or maybe you're watching tutorials because you want to learn how to do your own makeup, it should really be customized and it should really make you look and feel amazing but still look like yourself. So especially for today, this tutorial is all aimed at creating a look that you can wear anytime. It's almost like your little black dress of makeup or your pair of jeans that goes with anything. So you can dress it up, dress it down. Really doesn't matter what you're wearing or where you're going to look and feel amazing. And you can use this all the time as kind of your baseline. And it doesn't have to be really complicated. Again, a lot of my clients are like, oh, I don't have time in the morning. But my aim is really to simplify it, make makeup super accessible and easy for you and feel like something you can do. So let's get started. So the first thing we're gonna do is, I've already prepped my skin with skincare, and if you wanna see what I use, that's in a separate video that you can see on my profile. Don't worry, I'm gonna be posting all of the products that I use down below, so you can take a look and see the products that I use, order them online. It's gonna be really easy and accessible. So once you finish your skincare routine, one thing I really like to do, that especially if you're dry, if you're oily, you can skip this step, but if you're dry or even normal to dry, I recommend starting with a really firm face oil. So this is a brand I really love called Kopari. It's an organic coconut oil, and I just use a little bit. As you know, coconut oil can kind of get solid, so you have to warm it up a little bit. So, and that's kind of why I like the firmer oils, because it is a little bit more solid. So put a little bit in the palms of your hands. You're just gonna rub together until you feel it kind of get warm and liquidy, and then you're gonna press it onto your cheeks. So smile. And it just goes right onto the cheeks. It smells so yummy. That's also a really great way to get that look, even if you're doing a skin or a foundation look that's super flawless. That's a really great way to still have some give in the foundation and have it look really smooth. Oh look, I have a little assistant with me. I don't know if you can see, but it's my little cat bunny. Okay, anyway. I'm gonna use my beauty blender. You always wanna use your beauty blender wet. So it's already wet and ready to go. And I'm gonna be using the Dior Skin Forever foundation. This stuff is the bomb. I've squeezed out a couple of pumps and I'm just gonna start on my cheek. Just like that. So if you want really flawless but also believable skin, the important thing is to work in sheer layers. So your first layer should be really more of a glaze than it should be like a full-on frosting of makeup. Okay? You always want to start in the areas where you have the most area to cover. So I start on my cheek, and then with the beauty blender, you want to use the side of the sponge and sweep down. Okay? Notice my skin is not moving a lot under the pressure of my sponge. Okay, so a nice, thin, even glazing, okay? I'm gonna get up on my forehead. Okay. Also, when there's not as much product on the sponge, I do like to kind of like make a diamond on the neck. So almost like top of the diamond or V underneath your jawline, and then connect it with the contours of your neck. So diamond shape. Okay, nose. Then when you get to smaller areas or areas you want more secure, like your nose, your chin, you're gonna go from sweeping to you're gonna start tapping it, okay? And that's gonna get the color to kind of grab better and stick better. And you can use that tip of the sponge to really get it in there. You'll notice that I don't really take foundation and squirt it onto the skin and then blend everything out. In my opinion, that tends to look more makeup-y. I like it to kind of just look like the skin's improving, not like there's a bunch of foundation going on that you have to move around and smooth out, you know? That way, if you're in a rush, you don't get it perfect, still looks good, you're not gonna have like big splotches of makeup all over, okay? All right. Cool. So you can see my skin tone is much, much smoother, but you can see on my cheeks where I added that coconut oil, I still have a really nice like sheen going to the skin. I'm gonna reserve a little bit on my hand because we're gonna use that in a second. So try to keep a little bit left of whatever you're using there. We're gonna move on to concealer. For concealer, I'm gonna use the Moisture Cover from MAC. I love this stuff. And you're just gonna put that under the eyes. I like to put a little bit on the lip because then it just blanks everything out, and you can put it anywhere else you need a little extra help. If you have a little breakout, a little extra like pigmentation, boom. Okay, go back to your sponge, the tip, and you're just gonna blend that into your foundation. It's really important that you get a shade that kind of has a little bit of warmth to cancel out any dark that you have under the eyes. Even if you want to do highlighting under the eyes and do that really bright look, I still recommend doing something that's closer to your skin tone first. If you go too light, it can look gray. So that's why it's important to really pay attention to the undertones. And here, you know, with concealer, you're going back and kind of like bumping up the areas you need a little bit more coverage. So I'm tapping to really get it to build and to stay, okay? Just tap it in. Tap it in. Bonus points for anybody who knows what movie that's from. Okay. Cool. Boom. All right. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go in just to kind of seal the concealer and the foundation together. So that little reserve of foundation that I have that I'm saving, I'm gonna go ahead. It's a little bit lighter than my concealer to kind of blend, and I'm gonna use it for a really smooth transition between concealer and foundation. Okay? All right. Cool. So, skin should really take kind of like, in my opinion, a little bit more time getting right. Once you get that right, everything else falls into place. So from here, it's gonna be pretty quick and easy. The next thing that's super important, if you don't own one of these, you should definitely invest in a nice lash curler. Even if you're not wearing makeup or mascara and you're just running out the door, look at the difference. Look how much bigger and more awake this eye looks just by curling. I don't even have mascara on yet. It's like an eye opener. Don't mind my mirror face. We all have one. Okay. Boom. The next thing that you should do if you have like a couple more minutes, get a really nice either black or dark brown eyeliner that's tested for the inside rim of the eye. This part looks a little funky and it's actually going to take a little bit of practice, but this we're going to put right up under the eyelashes here, okay? If you've never done this before, once you get it right and you get it down, this is a serious game changer. I mean, look at that. Doesn't look like I'm wearing a lot of makeup. I look immediately more like wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, and it's super, super easy. Even if you work in a really conservative setting, you don't want to look like you're wearing a lot of makeup, or you just don't have a lot of time in the morning, this is where it's at. Then we're gonna do a little bit of brown. This is just a clear brow gel, and I'm just gonna comb the brow hair up and out. Again, if you don't have a lot of time, you can move on and be done. I like to add a little bit more color to the brow. This is the Boy Brow from Glossier. Again, I love it so much the label's worn off. But I'm just gonna use the color in brown. Same exact pattern, up and out. And you may ask me, like, why do I start with a clear gel if I'm just gonna go in and use a colored gel? It's an excellent question. I do that because it gives a little bit more give to the colored gel, and you don't end up with really dark brows or a really thick application of this. Sometimes with these colored gels, if you put these straight in, you can get clumps, or it's a little harder to control, it gets on your skin. The clear is almost just like a safety net, so it makes it much easier. So in the morning, even though it's an extra step, it's much, much quicker. Now we're gonna take the Bobbi Brown. This is a foundation stick, but we're gonna use it as our contour. And this color that I'm using is number 7, Almond. Lucky number. So what we're gonna do when we contour is I'm gonna actually just take the product right on my brush, okay? I like to do that personally because I feel like it looks a little bit more natural, a little bit more effortless. And if you take and you just kind of pull your hair back at the hairline, you start to see the contour a bit more, and you see where you should be placing that color. So I'm just gonna take it with my brush and just long strokes back and forth, kind of hug the cheekbone, okay? And when there's not as much on my brush, I'm just gonna hide that contour so that we don't see it. So back into the ear, kind of down onto the jawline, and just back and forth, okay? So really subtle, but it gives you a little bit more color, a little bit more life. So same thing here, find the shape, pull back, and then long strokes. You're not picking up the brush. The longer the stroke, the less it'll look like a brush stroke and more just like, you know, you woke up like this. Okay, we're gonna do the forehead, long strokes across the forehead, just blending down, teeny bit right here onto the temple. So almost like if you were to pull that eyeshadow out, you have something for it to blend into. Like that, boom. And then I like to take a little bit on the jawline. So that diamond shape right here, okay? And essentially, just like an easy way to think about it is if your cheek was a hill, your contour goes on the downward slope of the hill, okay? So here's the top of the hill, so the downward slope is where we're putting that contour, okay? Now I'm gonna take the teeniest bit, and one thing that I really like to do with makeup is to accentuate things about your face that are naturally unique. So one thing about my nose I didn't used to like, but now I've actually learned to embrace, is I have kind of like a little dip right here on my nose. And so rather than trying to correct it or make it look perfect or like somebody else's idea of a perfect nose, I'm actually gonna accentuate that. I'm just gonna take a little bit of the product and I'm just gonna run it right over that dip just to kind of accentuate actually that I have it there, okay? And that's one thing that'll start to elevate your makeup is, you know, when you start finding things about your face that's naturally unique and different, and almost kind of playing that up, you start to get a more like iconic signature look that looks a little bit more effortless, more like you, and enhancing your natural beauty. All right, so we're gonna now, oh, one last thing that you can do is awesome, especially for travel or if you like easy makeup, whatever's left on your brush, you can just take and just sweep onto your eyelids, and voila, it makes you look like you have a little bit of eyeshadow on your eyes, even though it just took like 10 seconds. If, however, you do have a little bit more time, we're gonna move into actual shadow. And for your little black dress of makeup, you really only need one eyeshadow to create your basic look. So for me, I chose a shadow that's just matte brown. It's about 3 shades darker than my natural skin tone. And I'm gonna use it with a fluffy brush, all right? Again, I'm gonna list all the products so you can check those out below. One thing that's super important with blending that I notice a lot is the grip of the brush. So When you're blending, you want to kind of hold the brush further back. When you're doing precision, you're gonna like choke up on the brush and you're gonna hold it a little closer. But for blending and fluffiness, you wanna hold the brush further back and don't death grip it, okay? So like really soft pressure and you're almost just barely hanging on to the brush. When you're doing eyeshadow, you always wanna keep your eyes open for the most part. When you close your eyes or even close one eye, look how much that changes the shape, and it also pulls the skin and makes fine lines so that when you blend, the eyeshadow is not as seamless. So what I want you to practice is keep your eyes open, raise your brows, and tilt your chin back. That way you can see the whole eyelid, the skin is tight, and then you're gonna shoot for your crease, which is where your eyeball goes back into the socket and meets the bone, okay? So you're gonna hold your brush a little further back, you start in the outer corner, kind of find that track, and you just go back and forth, kind of like a windshield wiper, okay? So notice I'm not really lifting my brush up, I'm keeping it down and going back and forth, bringing it all the way in towards the nose, all the way out towards the temple, until you don't see any more lines. That's it. Back and forth like a windshield wiper. If your eyes tend to be like a little bit closer set, do less of the shadow in here. If your eyes are a little bit wider set, you can do more of the shadow in there. Makeup is all about just playing with proportions. Okay? Same shadow, and I'm gonna take just a sponge tip applicator, and I'm gonna place that underneath the eye. Now, because I like my eyes to look a little bit bigger, I put quite a bit under there. I use the whole little like padding underneath my eye, the lower lid, to make the eye look nice and big. You'll notice this is a look that they use a lot for celebrities, a lot for that whole just like look that's you but enhanced. And if you want your eyes to look bigger, it's perfect because any hard lines, or if you don't put a lot there, it makes the eye look smaller. Once you do really blown out kind of like bigger areas, it makes the eyes look much bigger. And for a natural makeup, as long as you're doing it with like a medium brown, it's not gonna look too like much or too crazy. If you have if you have bigger eyes and you don't necessarily need to make them look bigger or want to make them look bigger, you can use an angled brush for this, or like a flat small brush, and just kind of like make a suggestion at the lash line to make the lashes look thicker on the bottom. But you do, for the most part, for a natural look, you do want to use your lower lash line and your lower lid so it's not all on top. You want to create balance. Okay? Now that we've done our shadow, we're gonna set the under eye concealer with a little bit of translucent powder and a different fluffy brush. Just back and forth. And that sets it so that as you smile, talk, go about your day, your concealer's not gonna end up bunching up or creasing underneath the eyes. Okay. Whew, we're almost there. Okay, so next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna finish with eyeliner. You can use a pencil liner, you can use a liquid liner. I'm gonna use this cream liner from Stilazzi called Jet. It's just black, and I'm gonna use it with a nice little pointed brush, because I find that for me and my hand mechanic, it's easier than using an angled brush. What you want to do is you want to load the color really evenly all the way around the brush, okay? So you don't want to get it just on one side. Again, keep your eyes open. You're going to raise your brows, tilt your chin up, and use the brush on its side, not on the point. You're going to have like a lot of difficulty trying to get it straight. You just want to use it on the side like this so it's lined up straight with your lashes, and then you just drag, okay? So, brows raised, chin up. I like to start in the middle because that's kind of like the focal point, but it's also the middle of the section. So once I start there and I have my line, then I can go in and make it a little bit thinner. Okay. And then I'm gonna bring it out. And if I make it a little thicker, it kind of lifts on the corners. Same thing. Start in the middle, do it in sections. Mirror face. Good mirror face is very important to a successful makeup application. Okay, pretty even. Now I'm gonna go ahead and wing it. So if you do like a wing, I recommend doing the whole lash line first on both eyes first. That way you can get like even symmetry. Sometimes if you go and do one whole eye, it can be really difficult to then match the other eye. You know what I'm talking about, where like this wing is a little bigger, so then you add a little bit to this side, and before you know it, you have like Amy Winehouse eyeliner. So keep it simple, do the regular liner, and then if this line on bottom were to continue going, where would it go? And that's how you kind of get a good general idea of where the wing should go. So if this were to keep going, it would go up, kind of at that angle, right? So you can start with the base of that wing, take a little bit more, and then just connect the top and the bottom parts of your triangle, like that, okay? And just remember, like, when it comes to eyeliner, when it comes to brows, when it comes to all that stuff, hang on, you can't talk when you're doing eyeliner. When it comes to all that stuff, you have two sides of your body. Nobody's sides are both perfectly symmetrical. So don't go crazy trying to get it perfect. As long as they're in the same ballpark, that's the magic. And in fact, when they're a little tiny bit off, it actually is more believable, it's more natural, you don't look like a mannequin. So, you know, they can be at the same angle, but they don't have to be like, you know, perfection. We're not gonna get out like our measuring tape and measure it. Okay, last thing we're gonna do is mascara. Now, this is my absolute favorite mascara of all time. I've probably easily gone through like hundreds, if not thousands of tubes of this mascara because it's so amazing. So this is my favorite. This is in Extreme Dimension from MAC. And I just love it because it's super buildable. You get a lot of bang for your buck in one coat. And my lashes are already curled, so I'm just gonna go right at the base and wiggle and tease and then comb through. Oop, I got a little bit on my eyelid. But that's pretty normal, so don't worry about that. Oh, if you do get a smudge like that, don't do what I just did and try to wipe it right away. You actually want to let it dry all the way because it's much, much easier to get off, and I'll show you how to do that. So you want to wiggle and tease at the base, comb through. You just spent that time in the morning or, you know, in the beginning of your application curling your lashes. So if you want them to stay curled, you want to like encourage them to stay up. So when you kind of wiggle and tease at the base like that, it creates a foundation so that those lashes can stay curled. It's kind of like teasing the hair on your head, same thing. And look, for those of you who don't wear mascara on the regular, look at the difference. Seriously, it takes like 30 seconds. It's like the biggest game changer ever. Mascara is totally a must. Look, I'm alive. Mascara is like the one thing I could easily spend like 10 more minutes on. because I just feel like it makes the biggest difference, but I'm gonna restrain myself and move forward. Let's go ahead and do the bottom lashes. Don't worry, I'm still gonna get that little bit of mascara, but I need to go get a Q-tip. Okay, so right now I feel like my makeup looks pretty good. My brows look groomed, my skin looks relatively smooth and pretty. I've got some shaping going on. But one thing is missing, and this is one thing, again, that gives you a lot of color. If you haven't been getting a lot of sleep, if you just feel like your skin isn't that radiant, blush is definitely a must. I'm a huge believer in blush, and you'll see the difference is huge. So I'm gonna take one of my favorite colors. This is a blush. It's actually mixed with highlights, so it's got a little bit of both. Again, really great for those of you who like to be minimal in the morning and not spend a lot of time. So remember how I was saying that contour goes at the downward slope of the hill? Blush kind of goes on the top of the hill, but in between here and here on the muscle. So when we're contouring, we're looking for bones. When you're doing blush, you're looking for the muscle. So you wanna, when you're doing your blush face, you wanna smile a little bit. That way you can see that egg-shaped muscle right there, and that's where your blush should go. So again, to make it really like effortless and smooth looking, choose a brush that fits the shape of that muscle so that you have to do as little as work as possible, okay? So you're gonna find the muscle, and then you're just gonna apply in kind of a circular shape. Much better, right? Okay, last but not least, I'm gonna go ahead and add some lip color. I like a neutral color myself, but whatever your favorite is, you could put on at this point. The eyes are not so dramatic that you couldn't wear something with a little bit more color. If you want that You.ButBetter look, I recommend finding a color that looks like your lip color and then slightly enhance it. So I'm gonna start with lipstick from MAC. This one is called Stripped. Just nice even layer. Looks like my lip color may be a little bit enhanced. And then my favorite gloss from Fenty. This stuff is amazing. Just to add a little moisture, because my lips are like always dry, even if I moisturize. That way I have a little color, not too much, feels really good, goes with everything. And then the last thing I'm gonna do is just clean up any mistakes I made. So I'm just gonna take a dry Q-tip. And look, if you wait until those little pieces of mascara dry, there's no smudges, there's no flaking, it just comes right off. I didn't even wet my Q-tip, super easy. And then you're not disturbing everything underneath using makeup remover. One thing I would do, the other side, if you have beauty marks on your face, moles, freckles, anything like that that you really like to show through, sometimes in the morning, you know, it's not always easy to work around. So I always recommend taking a Q-tip for your final step, just wetting it a little bit, and then letting yourself shine through a little more. All right, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed my You.ButBetter makeup look today. All of the products are listed below. If you liked this video, please give me a little thumbs up and a like on the video. You can subscribe to my channel. I'm gonna be sharing a lot more information, tips, tricks, product reviews, and all that good stuff. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.